Welcome, everybody. This is Trailer Talk with Scott and Jess. Jess, how's it going?
Doing well, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing peachy. It's May, the unofficial beginning of trailer season. How are things looking this year on your end?
Things are looking great. Everybody's super excited and anticipating that get out of the house, get into the trailer world of fun.
Right. Yeah, this whole lockdown business is kind of kept people in. I got to think that things get hauled on trailers are going to get a lot of hauling, here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, I'm taking my trailer to the drive-in. Get a whole little
The movie?
yeah, get a whole
What do you do with a trailer?
camp set up.
What do you do with a trailer head?
Open my bag, open up the trunk, lay everything out.
Where do you find drive-ins? Do you have a drive-in where you are? I haven't even seen
Well,
a drive-in.
sadly, I think they shut our last drive-in down on this side of town, but there's one drive-in left in Glendale, Arizona, in all the state, I believe.
Oh wow, nice. I was thinking more like people are gonna be, loading up the side by sides and hit. Well, I mean, what better way to social distance, honestly? Like get your side by side, roll it up onto the trailer, hit the off road. There's absolutely no one around. It's
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Anyway. So we got a great show planned for you guys today. Actually, we're going to be teaching you basically everything you need to know about purchasing a trailer. Whether it's your first trailer, your 100th trailer. There's always new things out there, always new things to consider. New parts, accessories, updated trailer models. And so Jess is actually gonna walk us through kind of what you need to expect when you're shopping for a trailer in 2020. Jess,
Absolutely.
actually, you are a dealer. Why don't you tell them a bit about, your dealership, Deer Valley, and what you guys do?
I work for a dealership, yes. Deer Valley Trailers, a family-owned business. They've been around for 20 plus years in the North Phoenix area. It's a wholesale dealer. We sell trailers, fix trailers, repair, service, modify, fabricate, you name it. Pretty much anything trailer related as far as utility trailers go. Um, utility trailers, box trailers, car haulers, goosenecks, those type of things. We've got it.
How many trailers would you say you have on the lot at any given time?
I'd say between anywhere around 400 trailers or so. I mean, we've got a massive amount of trailers.
And where's the well, who do you service? Like, what's the I guess your service run? Like, what's the farthest someone's come to buy a trailer from Deer Valley?
People come from all over, man. One of the things we get a lot is we'll get some snowbirds. This is Arizona, so it's got a beautiful time of year and it's got a ugly time of year. And so when we're in those beautiful times of the year, we get a lot of snowbirds from different parts of the country. They'll come in, 3, 4 months, enjoy that time, and buy their trailer. And in that time, um, I usually I usually say I couldn't tell you where the farthest is, man, but I do know they're from everywhere in the country and sometimes other parts of the world.
Nice. So anyone out there that's watching, Deer Valley will they'll sell you a trailer, no matter no matter where you might be.
No
And
matter where you're from, we got you.
right, and so let's say someone comes into it to buy that trailer, Jess. Like, what's the like? What can they expect? Like, how does Deer Valley conduct that sale? What sort of questions are you asking? What information are you trying to get? Because I would imagine there's a mental checklist of sorts that you're going through to kind of get what you need to know to get them with the right trailer. Can you explain a bit to us? How you put the right person with the right trailer?
Yeah, totally. So there is a mental checklist you kind of keep at bay. When someone walks in, I just typically ask them, "What are you looking for? What are you looking to put on this? What are you hauling? What's the size of what you're hauling? The dimensions, and the weight. What's the weight that you're going to be pushing around, or that you can exceed, or what have you. And what vehicle are you going to be hauling with, so that we can get you in the best trailer. Those are typically the first two things that I'd ask somebody once they're stepping onto the lot to
Right. So
purchase a trailer.
what are some examples of things that things you've heard? Like, what would you say is the most common thing people are putting on their trailers?
Hmm. one of the many common like threads that people have is the whole, toy off-road
It's not like recreation.
side by side
Yeah.
industry. People are loving
ATV.
Arizona. You got off-roads everywhere. I'm sorry.
Like ATVs and like you're saying side by sides, four wheelers, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So like
Hmm.
recreational type uses.
Right, right. That would be one of the most common because I mean people use them for work all of the time, right? That's very common as well. But their work changes in between what their work is. So I'd say it's very, very common that you're getting those off-road folks that are wanting to have fun with their trailer. And again, multi-use as well. You might be using it for both work and fun.
So multi. So right. So what other? I guess what kind of work uses do you commonly see in the utility trailer market? Like who should consider buying a utility trailer if your job is what?
I mean, you might have a pressure washer that you throw on there for, work. It really just depends. I've seen welders, throw their welding equipment on a trailer, get it around to be a mobile welder. There are tons, endless amounts of things you can put depending on the work you're doing. I've had somebody coming by for just literally hauling manure off of their lot because, you can't just throw manure on land. It has to be dumped. All of these different working styles, there's a trailer on the lot for every one of those things. And really we can, if you have any questions, I mean, hit us up. We'll answer any question about what you might be needing to
I've
get into the
seen
right trailer.
I've seen a trailer, a smoker actually. It was a smoker. This was in yeah, I travel everywhere. This was in where was I at? I was in Alabama is where I was. I was in Alabama. I was actually traveling with a client for Secure, and I was visiting their clients is what it was, and so I was out doing sales calls, and there was just a home operation. They made custom made trailers, but all their they were smokers. They were all barbecue smokers. They had it was amazing. They had little smokers, they had
Wow.
big smokers, they had 12-foot smokers, they had 4-foot smokers, they had tall smokers, short smokers.
Now they were throwing these on there separate or they were being built into the trailer?
No, they were into the trailer. Like the trailer was a smoker. Like they'd build yeah,
Get out.
they would build the frame,
Awesome.
and then they would weld on the stoves and the stacks and the pipes, and then and yeah, then these people they would either they would like pull this trailer to like a barbecue competition, or this would be the trailer they post up outside of a barbecue restaurant, and then they would take it back and forth, or hell, the guy there he had his own. Just he made himself so he could cook his own. I asked him, where's the best barbecue in town, and he kind of laughed and said, he pointed to his smoker over there, and that smoker right there, that's the one. That me fire it up, man.
Wow.
What do
Where
you
is
using?
this barbecue competition? Because I'd like to be a judge.
Yeah, right. No, I feel you. Man. So yeah, anything can be in a trailer. And so it's just
Yeah.
important to kind of
Wow.
know what you're going into. So you got your recreational guys, which I don't know what a smoker counts for. That that might be rec. But these guys are
That's
hauling.
a necessity. That's a necessity for sure.
Everyone should have a smoker trailer. So you got your rec guys. They're hauling toys, cars, side by sides, ATVs, four wheelers. Anything that costs a lot of money and doesn't really accomplish anything but having fun. You got your multi-use guys who's like landscapers. These are guys who might run a small business. Subcontractors, like you're saying, pressure washers, manure, whatever happens to be. Probably farmers would probably fit in this category because you might be hauling tree stumps one day and whole trees the next day, and who
Right.
knows what who knows what after that. And then there's another category. We haven't mentioned them yet, but there'd also be like hotshotters as well. And these are the guys that you see going down the road with those big 350s that are pulling bulldozers and heavy equipment, machinery, large stuff. You guys don't do that, so we'll not mention too much more on it. But I guess would you say those are pretty much the three areas we got: the rec, the multi-use, and then those hot shotters.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. We have all of that and more. Those would definitely be some of your most popular trailer editions, styles, so to speak.
I got you. So you come in. They you ask them what are you hauling? They tell you what they're hauling. Where do you go from there after you know what they're hauling? that lets you know, I guess, the size, generally speaking, that we're going to be looking at, probably the weight as well. So where do you go after that?
Usually next I get into where are you going to be taking this trip? What terrain are you going to be with this trailer? And sometimes it's multiple terrains. Sometimes it's absolutely highway only. Because again, we mentioned the out of town traveler who, maybe they're purchasing it here, but they're going to take it back home to Wisconsin or Minnesota. As we know, that's a very different climate. So, and also between here and there, there's a lot of freeway travel. So depending on those things, I'm going to ask somebody, where are you taking this? That way I can get them into, you're talking tires, we got to get you in the right tires. Are you all freeway? You're going to want to be in steel belted radial tires. If you're taking it 3 miles down the road, parking it at home and only going to be using it during the summer for those off-road, toy season, dunes and what have you, I'm going to tell you to go ahead and get you some all-terrain, mud tires. You might be in the rain out in those back roads and you're going to need to get out of a sticky situation, so depending on those things, where you're taking it, that's how I'm going to steer you towards the next, part of getting in the correct trailer for your needs.
Well, and something else to mention too, I think we were talking about, where you're taking it is where you're keeping it. Like a lot of people don't think about this, but if you have an HOA, for example, a lot of HOAs aren't going to allow you to just, park a trailer in the middle of your front.
I mean, that's a big one. People come in and they're like, no, I want the 16-footer, but I have to have the 14-footer because I can't fit it through my backyard side gate. It only gives me 14 feet of storage versus I'm hitting my wall after that. Or I can only have the 7 foot wide versus 8.5 because it doesn't fit through my gate. Those things really matter because, like you said, an HOA might not want to see a trailer on the side road, or someone might want it to be a little more protected in the backyard versus just on the street, because that's a big one here in Arizona, is coming out and finding your trailer gone.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess we can talk about that a little bit later, different accessories to, we prevent theft and things like that. So, so we know what they're hauling. We generally know where they're hauling. Like I guess what sort of recommendations you make based on that? So, you mentioned before, like your snowbirds, they're driving thousands of miles from, Canada or wherever it is. And then they're driving thousands of miles back, putting the steel belt radials because they got that highway. Let's say that, that's not the case for me. Let's say that I'm, traveling, through mountainous terrain or something like at steep grades. What sort of like terrains and, what are you listening for? And then what are you going to match people up with whenever they tell you where they're going with their trailer?
Oh, that's a good question. Say someone's not going crazy far across country, but they are going up north in Arizona. We know that there's mountain terrain, everywhere, especially, you start going north. I mean, those windy roads, the inclines start to change.
Right.
You definitely want to steer yourself. Like I'd guide someone towards brakes, you get in those inclines and what have you, and you've got some weight on the back of your trailer. You're definitely going to want to have that system, brake system stopping you at a gradual, even brake, whether it's an incline or a decline, rather than it being all on one end of your car, the vehicle, that truck or what have you that you're pulling it with. So that I would start to steer someone in that direction. If you're going in those type of areas, definitely keep an eye out for brakes, getting brakes. And then you have a system called a brake controller that at that point, if you do have brakes on your trailer, I'd steer someone towards those type of things and what's going to best suit their needs for that type of terrain.
Right. Well, yeah, and the other thing too with like grades and things is, you might be thinking you're pulling, let's just say 6,000 pounds or whatever in your trailer, but it's different pulling, 6,000 pounds across, level terrain versus pulling 6,000 pounds, going downhill. And it's a lot easier to stop on the level terrain than it is to stop going downhill. And so if there is going to be a lot of, steep grades and inclines, because what goes up has got to come down eventually, right? Then yeah, definitely, I would think that the braking system and having a good one is going to be very important for that.
Right, and it's a must once you exceed. I mean, according to DOT ratings, it's a must once you exceed a certain amount of weight. I believe it's once you get past 10,000 pounds, which of course you're going to have a tandem axle by then. We'll get into more of that later, but just to get, your feet wet on the information of that, you're definitely going to be considering brakes depending on what your load gets up to.
Right, right. So you want to look at brakes, especially for constantly changing grades and inclines. What if I've got a super secret trail that nobody knows about, and it's at the back of my property, but to get to it, I've got to go through potholes and mud and hills,
Right.
grass and gravel, and things that no one would ever want to go through. Like how well, where would you see?
Right. That headachy area.
Right.
Well, something I recommend to people often whenever they're in the market for a trailer is, if you're going to be in those back roads, you've got those dips. Now you're talking about possibly bottoming out, right?
Hmm.
And nobody wants to do that because, of course, you're off already in, no man's land, and who's going to help you once you bottom out? So to prevent that, I often recommend there's this way that you can set the axle on the springs, and they say flipping the axle, but essentially you're flipping your undercarriage so that it gives you a little bit of a lift, so that your body's lifted, the body of the trailer then becomes lifted.
Hmm.
So it gives you a couple inches. And I don't want to quote myself right now. Don't quote me on I believe it's 2 to 4 between there. I can get you a more accurate answer. But yeah, I believe it's 2 to 4 inches. It generally gives you, depending on the trailer, depending on, what your undercarriage is, the springs, whether you have, a 3,500-pound axle ratings on your springs, or if you're talking about your axle is, 7K or 14K. Those things are all going to change in terms of sizes, as to why you've got some, variable in between that 2 to 4 inches. But typically it'll give you a little bit of a lift. So you're on that back road, that secret road you're talking about, something like that might help you get into the, right lift that you need for the particular trailer you're trying to get into. So
Right.
that way you don't get in a stickier situation than you're already in.
Nice, nice. So if you're taking secret roads between properties, maybe you're hunting, whatever happens to be, there are things like if you tell your dealer this, what you plan to do, they can hook you up with different sorts of suspension systems, or like you're saying, flipping the undercarriage, flipping the axle, in order to make it safer and easier, and less likely to get stuck and run into trouble as you're going down those roads. Um,
Right.
so so you know what they're doing, right? They're either playing or they're working. You know, generally speaking, what they're going to be hauling. Either it's toys all the time, or it's God knows what whenever. And now basically what they're hauling on, whether that be highway, or whether that be secret roads in the back country. What once you have all this, and you kind of have this complete. Well, is there anything else before that you would need to know in order to get a complete picture of what this trailer's life is going to be like?
Yeah, the last thing I'd really like to tie in with people is, again, depending on what people are doing, it's going to lead you to what things they're going to need, let's say, outside of just the bones of the trailer. So say I do want to take my toy out and I'm just purchasing this new trailer. I'm not just going to take it and throw it on the trailer. I obviously need to tie it down. So I want to get them set up with those type of things, whether you're talking toolbox, gas can holder, um, secure sling strap. You have
Accessories.
those
Accessories.
360. Pardon?
So you mean like accessories? Then you're
Right. I want to get them in the right body, like accessories, yes, but the right things on the body, whether it's welding a toolbox so that your accessories are safe once you strip that down. You know what I mean? Once you look at it and say, okay, well now I got my trailer, but when I get out there, I have nothing that supports this use of trailer needs, meaning
right.
I'm not going to be able to tote my thing back and forth without these things. So that would typically be the last thing I set somebody up with is, hey, now keep in mind, if you're going to be in those off roads, you definitely want to get suited right with a welded on, toolbox or spare tire mount, because you really don't want to be, if you ever have a single axle, you really don't ever want to be without a spare tire, even if you're just throwing it in the back of your truck.
Right. Well, and so you've mentioned a couple times now single versus a tandem axle. Why don't you can you briefly explain what the difference between those are, and why you might want to consider one over the other?
Yeah. Usually if you're hauling a certain amount, let's say you're just getting in one of those toys, you're okay. You can get away with a single axle because, I mean, it's really overkill if you throw two axles underneath. Let's say you got a two-seater side by side. It's overkill unless you're going to grow into that or what have you. But I typically say that would be the most, you know, common use for the single axles, smaller weight, what have you. Typically people start climbing into those tandem axles when they're going to do the multi-use and heavier and what have you. You know, they need more room. Those are pretty much the biggest differences between the tandem and single axle. However, I will say this. So many people who've had trailers know for sure that if you're ever out on the road with a tandem axle versus a single axle, you can get away with being a little less, I'd say, careful in that you wouldn't necessarily have to
Don't
keep a
encourage
spare tire on you
don't
24/7.
encourage them. Say don't encourage them. You should always be careful, people.
No.
Viewers,
I'm not encouraging it,
always,
but this is the trailer talk,
always
right? So
be
we got to know
careful.
the ins and outs of trailer talk. Keep that spare tire always, but you can get to a safe spot at least if you have a blowout on the road and you've got tandem axles. This is the difference, right? The difference is on a safety note. You have a blowout on 4 tires, you can get to a safe spot with the tandem. Typically, a single axle, you're going to be in a very, very tough spot.
Right.
So down to, being a bad situation, there's a difference between tandem and single axle. Now, when you're talking about fun stuff and what you have the capability of doing, it really just gives you more capability once you have a tandem axle to do more with, again, weight. Usually you're talking more size, but it's not unheard of to have a small, tiny little trailer with two axles on it, depending on what that specific need might be.
Well, and another thing, I mean, we're talking about weight. A tandem axle, it'll increase the weight, but something people tend not to think about is that well, one, like the weight on the trailer includes the trailer, and so you might have like a 7K axle, but your trailer's taking up like 2,000 of that, and so whatever you're hauling is really going to be fine. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about is that if things start bouncing and the road starts getting rough and your trailer starts moving up and down, then you're actually adding weight to that trailer just because gravity and all the rest. Like as you go into that pothole, then you're no longer at 5K. Now you're at 6 or whatever happens to be as you're going down. So tandem axle
Correct.
really helps you, I guess, mitigate the effects of rough terrain and what happens with your weight on that. And so tandem axle, it's just a sturdier trailer, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It just definitely gives you more options for sure.
All right, and so we've got their trailer. I guess what kind of accessories are out there? You mentioned spare tire mounts, especially for single axles. You mentioned a couple other things like if I just wanted to put the icing on the cake, like I just want this is going to be the sweetest trailer that ever trailered. Like what what sort of
I
accessories would
have
you
the
say?
perfect thing for you in that case. In that case, we have what we call a trifecta, which is you're getting the works because you're going to be
The work,
in
right?
the dynamic of, let's say, again, you've got that toy and you're going on that back road we talked about. The icing on the cake would be get you a secure sling strap setup, get you the 360 setup, get you a nice toolbox welded on there. I mean, there's some toolboxes they have gas can setups. Then you can pull the dividers out, and you've got an entire toolbox, so that it leaves you versatile. Definitely the best thing I would say in terms of accessories. Let's say you're running on a pretty tight budget and you just got to keep it simple. Spare tire mount is always going to be the way to go because, like I mentioned earlier, you're in that single axle.
With the tire, spirit with the tire too.
With the tire, I
Right.
would say absolutely, because I mean, what's a spare tire mount going to do with no tire? You're in a sticky
Well, but a lot
situation.
of people think that spare
But
tires.
I do understand that they do often think that they come with, which many companies do not. Manufacturers usually do not send a spare tire included because you're going to pay for you get what you pay for.
Right. Right. So at a bare minimum, we're going with a spare tire, and even if you got the tandem axle, I mean, spare tire is never Never a bad.
Never a bad choice. Nope.
Right.
I
So,
usually encourage people who were in the market for a trailer, not even in terms of a sales perspective, but I definitely encourage people, look, if you've had a trailer before, I don't even need to tell you. But if this is your first time in the trailer world, mark my words, you're going to want a spare tire. Even like I said, if you just throw it in the back of your trailer or the back of your truck or whatever you're hauling, the trailer with, smartest thing to do.
right, and some other nice thing halves. You mentioned the toolbox as well, and your toolbox are regardless of what you're doing. Like having extra gas space is cool, but if you're hauling something, you're probably wearing gloves as well. So you can store your gloves in there. You can store your straps in there. You can store your slider 360s in there. You can store whatever it is in there. And so I
Well,
would
you can
always
even
say,
store a brake controller, like I talked about it earlier. That's a necessity, right, for brakes if you go that braking route. There's this super awesome. It's very very new and innovative. It's a Bluetooth brake controller, so you don't even have to do the whole system setup where you go, let's say, to the dealer, or you make an appointment with somebody that's like 3 hours out from getting it installed. You literally just plug this thing into the back of your, 7-way where you would plug the trailer in. It's got a microchip in there, and it memorizes, and it has a memory for all the vehicles you can use, and you just plug it right into the trailer, and it's amazing, man. So things like that, I would definitely recommend and encourage people to check into in this modern aspect of the trailer world.
well, and you mentioned 7-way, which kind of brings up to my mind. I've seen now they've actually got as well the all weather plugs, and because typically you get your plug, and then I guess these Canadians, the snowbirds know more than Arizonans, but once you get into cold weather or slightly frigid weather, then it gets stiff, and it's not flexible, it loses all flexibility. And so now
Yeah,
they've got, Arctic plugs, all weather plugs that maintain flexibility through anything.
through
Um,
heat as well.
right, right, right. Yeah, they don't melt; they absorb more. Exactly. And I've seen metallic hubcaps now. That might be another thing to get too, a spare hubcap, just because typically they're made out of plastic, and if you're going through any sort of roughness of terrain, then they crack all the time. and,
Oh, yeah.
and once they crack, oil starts coming out, and it's not a good situation. But no, I've seen like steel hubcaps now. So there's a lot that you could actually put on a trailer accessory wise in order to make it the best trailer it can be.
Oh yeah, I mean, you head into our parts room, and it's like a candy store, really, for trailer world. You walk in there, and there's an endless amount of things you can add to your trailer.
Right.
Not just for unnecessary stuff that you'll need, and it's like, wow, I didn't even know that this existed.
Right, right. So yeah. Anything else you want to say before we sign off here? Any last parting words, wisdom, advice about getting a trailer, next trailer, first trailer,
Best
whatever?
thing to do before getting into that first trailer, I'd advise to do your research on, even if it's as simple as what the dimensions are of the toy you're buying or whatever you're going to be putting on it. Do a little research. Help the person who's going to be side by side with you get you in the right trailer. That way, you just get a smooth sale as far as picking the correct trailer, because it's no fun to come back and have to, oh, I bought this and I got home and actually it didn't fit. You'd be surprised how often that happens. So do a little research, get the right dimensions, get the right measurements, get the right weight, and you'll be good to go from there.
All right, very, very, very good advice. So make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you have that information available whenever you go to your dealer, so that they can get you in the trailer that you need. Jess, it was fun. It always is.
Appreciate your time, Scott. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, viewers, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. If you know somebody buying a trailer, send this video to them. If you're buying a trailer, watch the video again. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Jess, myself, we'll get back to you, answer as best we can. And once again, this is Trailer Talk, brought to you by Secure Tool Network and Secure Tool Company. Thanks for watching, and happy trailering.
Thank you, guys.